Let me tell you a story. Once, there was a calligraphy enthusiast who worked very hard on his Chinese calligraphy. One afternoon, after he poured his heart into making those elaborate strokes, he realized that he was hungry, very, very hungry. He worked for 5 hours straight, and guess what? He accidentally used the ink as dipping sauce for his bread, and took a huge bitter bite. This happened because he had been so focused on perfecting this ancient art form. Oh, and if I must tell you, that enthusiast is me. My name is Toby, and I love calligraphy. This reminds me of a very famous Chinese folktale about there was a man who loved Chinese traditional art form. He kept practicing it from the sunrise to sunset. He even stole the candlelight from his neighbor through the crack on his wall, because he was too poor to even afford a single candle at his home. But what entices us to pick up this hairy pen? Is it because of the passion, or because of the allure? Or is it because we knew that practicing Chinese calligraphy can impact our lives? So now, you might be curious, what is Chinese calligraphy? Well, it's one of the oldest and most influential writing systems in the world, and has a history of over 3,500 years. It is a traditional art form that blends both writing and grace. By using a brush and ink, each stroke represents the depth of culture. But how did this traditional brushwork influence me so deeply, captivate my heart, and inspire me to begin learning it? It happened 5 years ago. In 2020, I was playing chess with my friend in the park. Suddenly, a smell of ink wafted into my nose. I couldn't control my gaze. I looked up at an old gentleman. He was doing Chinese calligraphy. He was waving his brush lightly with his hands, and then, with some graceful brushstrokes, created a very intricate character right before my eyes. It was sharp and straight, just like an axe. From that moment, I couldn't resist learning this amazing art form. Its aesthetics resonated with me very much. Since that day, I always learned and practiced Chinese calligraphy during my free time. And gradually, I discovered that understanding it was harder than I thought. A year later, when I thought that my skills were good enough, I tried to take part in a calligraphy competition. But I failed at it. I was sad, even cried. I blamed myself whenever I thought of this event. Gradually, I stopped practicing it. Why should I spend time on something that I couldn't master, I couldn't quite capture? Unexpectedly, one day, I picked up a book that contained anecdotes about an ancient calligraphy master, Ouyang Xun. This is a story about how he sat in front of a stone tablet for 3 days without any rest. His purpose was to learn the characters carved on that tablet that formed a beautiful poem. I asked myself, what made him do that? Because he was completely fascinated. Since then, I have been practicing his style, and I found my passion for this hobby again. After that, I tried to put more effort into practicing it during my free time, and I became aware that to achieve a result isn't just about practicing it once. It needs patience, passion, and perseverance. During the second year, after I started learning it, I began to have a feel of writing the characters. Doing Chinese calligraphy isn't just about copying the characters that are shown in the textbook. You need to consider the forms, the structures, and even the pressure and intensities of the brushstrokes. And I discovered that the characters of the words that I was writing reflected my personality in real life. For example, if you are a person who works seriously, the words you write will look solemn and straight. However, if you are a creative person, the characters of the words might look animated. There is the enchantment of Chinese calligraphy. Different people have various styles of writing their characters. As for the characteristic of my style, it looks calm and composed. Practicing Chinese calligraphy steadily makes me calmer. Over time, the qualities I learned from this art form started to influence other aspects of my life. I began to take my schoolwork more seriously, became patient when completing the tasks. Also, I always kept my passion when doing the things I like. What left the deepest impression on me was learning English. I started to learn English last year because I knew I'll be joining a new school. Along with the influence of this cultural brushwork, I tried my best to be patient and stay committed to learning English. In December last year, I participated in the National Calligraphy competition again. Finally, I got third place. That is what I learned during my time of practicing Chinese calligraphy. This cultural handwriting art, the combination of ink and brush, the composition of conventional Chinese philosophy, has made a huge and lasting impact on my life. I've learned that passion, patience, and perseverance lead to success.